Welcome to Stories from the Center of the Universe, the podcast about the human experience.
Jason Wells, welcome to the Center of the Universe.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
I guess we should start by mentioning that you and I connected through Lily Cameron.
Yep.
How do you know Lily?
So we're actually partnered with them, or we're working to be partnered with them through Mechanics of Faith so we can start supporting their clients.
And their clients typically are folks that have left trouble overseas and they're looking for a fresh start here. And most of them don't speak the language. They may have advanced degrees, but they don't qualify here in a lot of cases. And so their world's been turned upside down. And there are folks like Lily and you that help them build a foundation here so they can build a better life.
Yeah, and to be honest, I didn't realize how much of a need that was, right? We just recently started working with them and some other folks in that space. And I mean, it's huge. We actually recently just donated a car to a refugee that was here, got a job and everything like that. And we work with Reestablish Richmond as well. And we donated a car through them. So, excuse me. So, yeah, I mean, I had no idea, it's one of those things out of sight, out of mind, which we're going to talk about, shortly here with Mechanics of Faith as well. A lot of people don't think about some struggles that are really going on around us because we're just, we're stuck in that daily grind.
We're dealing with our own stuff, and we're happy when we have a good day dealing with our own stuff.
Amen.
Yeah. All right. So let's start at the beginning. Did you grow up in Hanover County?
Yes, sir. I graduated at Atla High School, and I moved a mile away from my house. I live over on Lee Davis Road now.
So wait a minute. Where you live now and where you grew up, they're about a mile apart?
Yeah. I grew up over by off of Meadowbridge Road, and now I live off of Lee Davis Road.
Well, I'm laughing because I grew up in Ashland. I'm not a mile away, but I still have an Ashland address, and I'm 54. So,
yeah.
That you went to Atlee High School. Does Atlee High School have a nickname that you're willing to share on a recording?
Bratley.
Yeah.
It wasn't that when I was there.
Oh, that's a more recent thing.
So it was just starting when I went there. I mean, when I went there, I mean, me and my buddies were the guys that were showing up in like Chevy Novas that were half falling apart, or showing up in cars that were so low to the ground we could barely get in the parking lot. We were still doing some of that. We weren't, we weren't driving around and BMWs and stuff, which is where some of that term came from, because a couple kids that went there, and whatnot. But my buddies and I, we were the ones, in the garage on Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, sanding a car and modifying them. And that's where my passion for cars came.
How old were you when you started doing that?
Probably about right around 15. My buddy's dad was a car guy. He actually built Chevelle from the frame up. And so I used to hang out with him a lot. Still hang out with him now. He's a great dude. But his dad was real big into cars. So even before I had my license, we'd be in the garage goofing off with him. My family, I'm lucky if my dad even knows what a battery is.
I'm like your dad. I'm more like your dad.
Well, and he tells me all the time, he's like, you always give me a bad rap because, you make it sound like I don't know anything about cars. I said, Dad, you don't, because you got me. And the only thing you ever do is just call me. And he goes, well, yeah, that's true. He goes, I don't need to know when my son just shows up.
I think what he's saying is he has the capacity to know more, but he doesn't have to.
Correct.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. So before you were 15, were you playing a bunch of sports growing up?
No, not really. I mean, I was a basketball kid. I'm 6'3". I played a lot of basketball. And then I was a big swimmer.
Really? Swimmer from Eastern or Central Hanover County. That was a thing?
Oh yeah, man. Actually, one of my buddies that I like to tell everybody, I actually used to beat him in swimming. He actually qualified for the Olympics.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wait, he went to this area?
Yeah. He went to Lee Davis.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. So I swam for Mechanicsville Recreation Association, MRA, the Marlins. And yeah, man, big time swimmer.
Did he win a medal?
He qualified and didn't go.
What?
Yeah, he's, you know, I've lost touch with him. That's the conversation my mom had with his mom and stuff. But you know, long story short, it was one of those things where he ate and breathed swimming so much that he was done. You know, because qualifying doesn't mean you go to the Olympics next, right? Like my swim coach back in the day for MRA qualified for the Olympics as well. And like she was saying, she goes, once you qualify, it's not like you qualify and it's like, all right, sweet, I'll see you guys next year for the Olympics. Like now your training starts, right? You qualified, now you got to win. And he was like, I'm not doing it. You know, I thought I wanted it, but I don't want it.
I mean, just to qualify, imagine that's countless hours in the pool, right?
Right. Exactly. Oh, he was like I said, a buddy of mine. I mean, he would get up at 4:30 in the morning before school and go to swim. And then when he got out of school, he'd go swim for 2-3 hours.
That's crazy commitment.
That was in high school. He went on a scholarship. He went on a scholarship to college after high school. Yeah, it was crazy. That was back when you had track and you had back and you know the winter swim team. Oh yeah, man. It was big. It was big deal. I didn't do all that.
So he was swimming, it sounds like, year round and hours every day.
Oh yeah. Oh, lived it.
Yeah, I joke a fair amount about swimming. I'm like, humans aren't meant to swim. You can't breathe underwater. Like, what are people doing? I don't understand it. Now, I get that it's wonderful to get in shape, right? You're going to be in fantastic shape if you swim a lot. But man, the whole notion of being underwater and barely have your mouth above the water to be able to breathe, it just seems like a wholly uncomfortable thing.
I used to swim my 50 freestyle with one or two breaths. One breath going up, one breath coming back. That was it.
That your lungs had to be in amazing shape, man.
Not anymore, man. I get winded going to the
mailbox. So I'm guessing free was good for you because you're tall, and I imagine you have long limbs.
Yep.
Yeah. Did you do anything else besides the free?
Oh, I did all of them. Breaststroke was my choice if I had to swim it. Breaststroke and free were kind of the ones I dominated in.
Breaststroke's kind of I wouldn't say the opposite, but it's very different than freestyle, right?
Yeah, you look like a frog.
It doesn't seem like a great way to go somewhere fast.
It depends. The way I swam it, I did.
But your free time was faster in the 50 or the 100 than it was.
Oh yeah. I actually broke an 8-year league record doing freestyle, and like 8 years ago, a buddy of mine, his kids actually went to championships, and he said I still held the record.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was like, man, that's pretty cool, man. Can we hang? Like, because he had the record book. I was like, we need to hang this on my fridge.
So the doing 4 or 5 hours a day year round was just not something that you said, hey, that's not how I want to spend my time.
No, because I did, because my buddy did it, and he, but that wasn't for me. He, he did, it was just too much for me. I played basketball in the summertime, and I swam. I did rec ball, and then I played basketball in school. I was an extreme sport person, a lot of skateboarding, snowboarding, BMX biking, stuff like that. So I had my other sports, and when you make a commitment to something, you've got to really commit. You can't, just dip your toe in it. And I just, I did so much other activities that I just didn't want to sacrifice just for one thing at that particular time.
Yeah. I think variety is the spice of life. And, I admire the people that can be that committed to something, but it's definitely not for me. It sounds like it's not for you.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm changed now, man. Mechanics of faith. I'm all in.
Well, you found your thing to be completely focused on. Yeah, that's awesome.
Right.
So extreme sports makes me think that you may have broken a few bones.
Nope.
You've never broken a bone doing any of that stuff?
Nope. But I've had concussions. I've had enough concussions to where now if I black out, I don't even. If I wake up and I'm like, down the end of well, not anymore. I don't do it, but I've had so many where I used to get up and I'd be skateboarding, and I'm like, where am I? From where I fell and blacked out. Yeah, my mom says that's not healthy, but
I think your mom's right.
my wife. Well, I married a nurse, so I'm okay.
Well, yeah, that was smart. That was really smart. Out of those extreme sports, what was your favorite?
Oh, skateboarding. I mean, I skateboarded religiously, nonstop. My buddy had a huge half pipe at his house, and it was nothing for us to skateboard 3 days straight, man, into the night and everything.
What was it about skateboarding that was so attractive to you?
Agility. It was the you can't just, and I'm not saying other sports you can or other things you can, but I enjoyed the constant growth, right? You're always, you can ollie, which is where you jump the board and, you jump over something. All right, now I want to jump over something bigger. Now I want to jump over something bigger. It was always let's see what we can do next, right? There was never an end in sight. When it comes to skateboarding, back in those days, man, it was like, Chad Musket, Tony Hawk wasn't even crazy popular then, but like those guys, it was always like, oh man, he just ollied all the way down a 15-foot, flight of steps. Well, after he did that, 2 days later, you're hearing about someone trying to do a 20 steps. You know what I'm saying? So it was always something. There's always growth opportunities. It was always, how can we do it better?
What was the toughest trick you ever pulled off on a skateboard?
I don't even remember, man. I was just talking to my daughter about skateboarding. I used to be able to ollie like ridiculously high. Like I could just about jump my board. Actually, not just about. I could jump my board onto the hood of a car and skateboard off it.
And how are you propelling yourself to get to that height? With the board intact, the board with you, right?
Yeah. It's just the way you move your feet. You pop it up and then push down on it and get some height on it.
It looks incredibly complicated to me.
It's simple.
Yeah, I can't believe you haven't broken your lower leg.
The worst I ever did was I sprained my foot so bad, my ankle, that my whole foot was blue. My mom thought I had broken it, and it was just a sprain.
It's probably the severest sprain you could probably have, short of breaking it.
And then I went to basketball tryouts 3 days later. I'm not even kidding, man.
Well, you couldn't try out playing point guard.
Dude, I was limping like nobody's business, man. But dude, I don't stop, man. And I still, to this day, my wife can't stand it. I was working on something in my yard, and my left ankle is still pretty weak. I turned it, and I thought I broke it because I heard it crack, and excruciating pain. And I'm home by myself. I had somebody dropping off a car for a veteran donation. I called my neighbor. My neighbor sees me outside, like laid out on the driveway. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, my ankle. And he gets me up and he goes, we got to go to the hospital. I'm like, no. I said, not yet. I was like, go inside. I need you to get the 2 pieces of paper I just printed out. I said, bring me a pen. I said, I got somebody coming in a couple minutes to donate a car. I was like, go do all that. So I filled out the paperwork, got the keys to the car, got everything squared away with them, and then he took me to the hospital.
So is that you have a high pain threshold plus you've made commitments and you want to see them through? Is it a combination of those two things?
Absolutely.
Or something else? Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, imagine if everybody.
But if I see my own blood, I'll pass out.
You don't like blood, huh?
My wife thinks it's the weirdest thing ever. I had back surgery, and the doctor was like, don't be doing too much, and I'm up moving around a lot better than they had expected and whatnot. And he was like, man, like you said, he was like, man, your pain tolerance. I said, well, I was like, I hurt, but I'm good. I didn't take any, no medicine or anything like that because I work with recovery guys. I've seen the other side of the beast, and I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I'm good, man. I don't even want it. I don't even want it. And but man, if I see my own blood, I'm hitting the floor.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. My dad is a combat veteran in Vietnam and Desert Storm, and if he sees blood, he can't handle it. He has to walk away from it.
Yeah. Oh, I can see other people's blood, just not my own.
Yeah, I guess it's his own too. Yeah, so there's no walking away. He just,
Yep.
I think he still has to look away though.
Yeah, man, it's crazy, dude.
Yeah, that's wild. Completely right. By the way, if everybody had that level of commitment to other people, this world would be a better place, right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. It's hard not to. All right. So you go to, we'll call it Atlee. Since you were not driving a Beamer or anything, I won't refer to it as Bratley. And that wasn't a thing, it sounds like, when you were there, at least not entirely. What were your ideas for what you were going to do after high school when you were, say, like a junior in high school?
So professional skateboarder? No, so I actually, so I have a learning disability, so I tend to excel at technology. So when I graduated high school, I was actually working at a semiconductor plant in high school. I worked for Infineon Technologies, and I did that. And then when I left high school, I actually went from there to civil engineering, doing the gas line renewal for the city of Richmond. So like all those weird little fenced in areas that people see where the gas line comes out the ground, I designed all those for the city of Richmond in 3D. And then I left there and went to start designing embassies for the government.
And this is all, were you self-taught for most of this?
I took AutoCAD classes from Glenn Gardner and Mr. Kettner at Atlee High School.
Okay. So you were school trained, but it sounds like there was a lot of learning just by doing.
Yeah, hard work.
Yeah, so you were working right away, right after high school.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Shoot, I was in my own place at 20.
Yeah. So have you always had that kind of work ethic?
Always.
Yeah, I'm. If you wanted to live with your parents at right after high school or at age, well, not right after high school, we'll say age 23, were your parents got a parent said no way, figure it out?
25 was our mark growing up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's reasonable. Parents, some parents anyway, forget that their job is to help their kids become independent.
Yep.
And unless you have goals like out of the house by 25, some kids aren't going to do it. And they're going to be with you in their 30s.
My dad apparently read a statistics back in the day that said a child after 25, it's harder for them to move out after they're still in the home after 25. And he just kind of stuck with it and said, look, 25. Now, my sister got engaged at 25, so she didn't move out till she was 26, but different, she didn't move out till she got married to move into their house with her husband. Like that's a different scenario.
Yeah, no doubt. So wait a minute, you went from being a high school kid. How old were you when you were designing embassies?
20.
That doesn't make any sense to me. 2 years later, you're designing U.S. government.
20, maybe 21. Maybe I was 21. Maybe I was 21. 2021, yeah.
So you were naturally good at it. You were curious about it, sounds like. You were willing to spend a lot of hours doing it to become really, really good, because you're not going to get a government contract like that or be a part of that without being really good at what you do.
Yeah, so I'm very tech savvy. I went from there to construction design. I went from construction design. I've done sales and marketing, selling, technical online systems. Went from there. I've run a Napa store. Went from there back to semiconductor. And then I went back to civil engineering, and then I went to a manufacturing company where I run a design team now.
So that's your full-time job, running that design team.
Yep.
And you do mechanics of faith in your spare time.
I do mechanics of faith. Yep. in between a busy schedule of being a father of 3, a husband, seminary school, pastor of a church, and everything else. Yes.
So I'm lucky to have an hour of your time tonight.
You should feel special.
I did. I absolutely do. Wait, all right. So that was a lot right there. And we talked about this before the recording. Let's talk about your journey to becoming a pastor in seminary school. And I imagine you weren't always like that. I think you basically told me you weren't always a man of deep faith, but you are now. Tell me about.
I mean, back in the day I wasn't. And I mean, I'll tell you, we stepped back 6 years ago, and shoot, really 10 years ago. And I was fixing cars for people in need. So not even talking about being a pastor, but just, community service. And, my wife and I at the time were going to church, and it was like, yeah, okay, we're going to church. We're whatever. Was kind of our mindset. We know we need to be there, but why? And, I was fixing cars for people in the community, at a low cost, trying to help people out. And then I went to a different church, got a little bit more plugged in. Faith was growing. My wife's faith was growing. And then from there, found it and started Mechanics of Faith with a buddy of mine, who just a few years ago, we lost to cancer. So, Mechanics of Faith kind of blossomed from there a little over 5 years ago. And then about 3 years ago, I finished getting my bachelor's in business, and something was like, you need to go to seminary school. You need to have a piece of paper. You need to be forced to study more about, about Christ and how to build a church and how to do this and how to do that. And so, I'm still in seminary school at Liberty University. I'll be done this year, but, that's kind of the blossoming of Mechanics of Faith, which is, the non-religious organization that supports the community with automotive repairs. And we did that intentionally. When I founded it, a lot of people were like, well, it's Mechanics of Faith. It's a church. And I said, no, it's not a church. I understand why you think it's a church, but it's not. Because I don't ever want anybody to feel that they're coming to a church and that they're going to be judged. We're founded on Philippians 2:4, which says, look not to the interest of yourself, but to the interest of others. Others being the key word, right? It doesn't say Christians. It doesn't say whites, doesn't say blacks, doesn't say Asian, it doesn't say anything. Others is a ginormous umbrella, right? So for me, I really wanted to make sure people understood, you come here, you're welcome. We have had volunteers that are non-believers. We have had volunteers that have been part of the LGBTQ plus community. And they're all loved, right? We're not here. We're all loved because they want to be a part of something that's giving back to the community. And that's our focus, right? Now, I am a pastor of a church called Cars in Christ. And we're slowly building it to where we do a small car show on Sundays at 4, and then we do worship at 5. But nowhere in Mechanics of Faith do we talk about the church. Do we force people or encourage people or make them feel like, wow, I went to Mechanics of Faith to get help, but all they really did was push me into church? Because, just like you just talked about, kind of how I built my life was on works. And faith without works is dead. Mm-hmm. And I believe that instead of going out and pushing our belief in Jesus and our belief in Christ and our ideology on people, I want to do that through works. I want people to see, man, why are you helping me, man? And I can say, well, and once somebody asks me, why are you doing this, Jay? I say to them, because I believe God told me this is what I needed to do with the rest of my life. right? And I'll leave it at that. I'm not sitting here, let me show you the scripture, right? Because I don't believe in that. I never have believed in it. Even now, connecting with more churches and more pastors, like I'm still against that. Because I don't believe that anyone should be guilted or pushed into the seats of a congregation, right? Like even at my church now, we don't push the tithe. We talk about it, but it's not a push because it's biblical. It says Jesus wants a happy giver. Because if you don't give happily and you feel forced to do what you're doing, then you're no better than not giving at all. Right? So I don't want anybody to ever feel forced or pressured or anything. And that's how it's all been formed, and that's how we run Mechanics of Faith today. And to be honest, Mechanics of Faith currently is run by three recovery guys.
And when you say recovery guys, you're talking about either alcohol or drugs or both.
Both. Yep.
Yeah, and it's probably helping them in their recovery, I imagine.
I have had, try not to get emotional, but two guys that my shop manager, Tony, and my lead tech, Danny, had a conversation with somebody. I was in the room, but these both were independent interviews with a gentleman talking about wanting to, what do you want to do with your life? And how do we want to set some things up? And what financially can we support you with? And they got down to the question around, who's your sponsor? Who's going to help guide you through this process? And both of them, said almost the exact same thing, and said that, Jason, they said without Mechanics of Faith, without coming here every day and volunteering and giving my time, to Mechanics of Faith and having Jason come to, cause we shut the shop down. If one of them has to go to court, we all go to court. Right. So we'll close Mechanics of Faith and we go to court for a day. Like, we do life together, and they've said it multiple times that without that, they said they're not sure they would have made it. And it just breaks my heart, man, to think that, that they feel, I'm not saying it's true, but that they feel I'm the only support system they got. Cause I know there's tons of other people out there that support, but it just breaks my heart that it's so far and few between. Right.
Yeah, because there are two sides to every scenario like that, right? To your point, if you're not creating an inviting environment, the one side of the coin, the person who needs the help, is not going to seek it in a way where they're motivated because they feel guilt or they feel embarrassed or they feel whatever they feel. It sounds like you create an environment where people are free to be who they are and get help. And that's what you just described is unbelievably powerful, right?
Yeah, that's what we've always tried to build at Mechanics of Faith. Like I said, we're not a for-profit shop. We're a nonprofit shop. Our program fees and things are strictly what it takes to keep our electricity bill paid, right? Next year, we want to build a 3-bay shop. That's our goal. And, we really want it to be a safe place, man. We've had domestic violence victims that have come up there, that we have worked on their cars, and they literally just want to hang out. They feel safe there. We have a resource book so that if somebody says, well, I need shelter, we can thumb through it real quick and say, okay, here's a couple contacts we can make. We've had one individual be up there hanging out and decided they wanted to go into recovery. So we drove them to recovery. That's what we're trying to build. I tell everybody, working on cars is great. And, we can deep dive into that a little bit as well, but we want to do more than that. If I'm just fixing cars, then I'm just another shop, right? That's not what I am. I'm here Mechanics of Faith was founded, and I built this, or we built this because we saw the need in the community, not just for the car repairs, but for a safe place for people to come and hang out, right? For people to come and feel wanted and accepted. And, we have folks that come up and we'll fix their cars and we'll be like, all right, you're all done. And they're like, okay. And they at the shop and we're like, we're closing up to leave. Oh, okay. They're playing on the playground at the church. Cause we work out the back of New Life Church on Osborne. So they'll go play on the church playground and whatnot. They'll be like, we're just going to hang out, So we've had quite a few folks that just come up just to hang out. And then we have folks that come up and want to volunteer and want to learn about, the mechanics and how to do this and how to do that. So
I'm not familiar with Osborne Road. Where is that?
Henrico. We are directly in the middle of Rockets Landing and Verona High School.
Okay. I got you. So if I don't have the money for a car repair, or I know I don't have money because my financials are not great. I don't have enough savings to handle a $500 or $1,000 car repair. I come to you. What's it like for me as the customer of your nonprofit services?
So we do have small program fees, but we work with people, right? I mean, we have to. So basically what you would do is the best way to reach us is mechanicsoffaith.org, and you go to repair information and then service request and submit an email. The turnaround time on responding to emails is 24 to 48 hours. We do have an office number, but I have literally deleted all the voicemails. We it's gotten so bad with phone calls, and I say bad as far as trying to keep up with it. It's a blessing that we're there for people, but a lot of people get mad. They're like, I tried calling 5 times, and you got to remember these folks are in crisis, right? These folks are in crisis mode. So some of the anger and them being upset is not upset at us. It's just upset because they desperately need us and they can't reach us, right? So what we've had to do is basically we have to sit down, run through the phones really fast in the voicemail system, listen to them, write down all the information we need, contact information, call back, delete, write down all the information we need, contacts, everything, delete, and then call them back. And by the time we finish the list of 10 phone calls, I got 10 more in the queue.
Yeah. Email's one way to do it. You could hire somebody to maybe chat with folks.
Yeah.
But people, employees.
I can't hire people unless I have donations.
Right. No, yeah, I'm with you. You need the money to actually hire somebody. Yep. I mean, we've already done about 150 cars this year. And it's just a blessing, man. Folks come in and they need a brake job, and they're scared to go down the street because their check engine light's on, or their steering wheel shakes when they hit the brakes, and we find out they just need rotors and front brakes. And the program fees $100, and it includes brakes and installing them and getting you on your way. That's a huge difference. Now, everyone always says, well, you're charging a program fee, so how are you a nonprofit? Well, the thing is our program fees don't even cover all of our costs, right? It's really, one, getting the client invested, but it's also, like I said before, to pay some of our electric bill, right? We've already this year, we've spent a couple $1,000s in shop supplies, whether it's gloves, brake clean, antifreeze, window washer fluid, you know what I mean? Like bolts and screws. And there's a lot that goes into running a shop that people don't even realize. And that's not a cost that we're going to put over into the client, right? I'm not doing that. I just want you to help us out with, okay, your brakes were $25. We've got other expenses like I said, electricity and things like that, but that's still, that all that does is still keep the recovery guys still as volunteers, right? We have
the church that I pastor helps cover their bed fees. So at least they don't have to worry about that, but at the same time, eventually those guys are going to say, well, man, I got to go get a job that's actually giving me at least a little bit of income. And right now, if I lose those two guys, I'll tell you right now, Mechanics of Faith, we'll be fixing 2 cars a week, and that's it. Right now, we're fixing about 8 a week.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're averaging over 1 a day for the year so far.
100%.
Yeah.
We pumped out 3 yesterday.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've got the demand.
Yes.
People need your services.
I have more than the demand. And I mean, we've partnered up with other nonprofits so that their clientele can start coming to us. We've partnered with other nonprofits that do their car donations through us. So vehicles can actually be donated to us and then given to, refugee families, given to recovery folks that are needing to get to and from work, given to, and then of course, Mechanics of Faith, we have our own veteran program. Right. So, there's just a lot, and, it's a lot to keep straight. A lot of people are like, man, I tried calling, even me personally, like my buddies and stuff, they're like, man, I've called you for 3 days. And I'm like, dude, I said, I'm sorry. I love you, but, I've gone, I had to go speak with a lawyer with one of the guys to help him, so we can navigate what he needs to get done with those issues, with what's going on. And then I had another guy that's, needed some help over here, and they don't have a driver's license. So I got to drive them. If I can't drive them, I got to Uber them, so it's a lot to manage. But you know what? I mean, we get it done, we get it done. And I tell everybody all the time, I said, Mechanics of Faith started with me and my little Nissan Versa, with a roof rack on it, with a toolbox and a dinky little jack. And now we literally have 19 cars on our lot right now that need to be fixed. I've got a 21-foot mobile shop trailer that we use to go to churches and do oil changes. We use to go train adolescent youth down in Tidewater how to fix cars, and, we've done all that, man. And I went from really just fixing 1 car a week to fixing, sometimes 10 a week.
So, Jason, your job leading a design team, I imagine, has a ton of flexibility in it. It almost has to, given all the other things you have going on.
Well, my guys, so I have an administrator, Jerry. She runs a lot of the show while I'm working my day job. And then Tony, my shop manager, runs the shop. And then my lead tech, of course, is my lead tech fixing everything. And then I've got one other gentleman, Jeff, who's answering phones, scheduling everything. So, a lot of my time is spent exactly what we're doing right now. What is it? 7:30 at night, something like that. So a lot of my time is spent after hours, when I get off work and things of that nature. Now, don't get me wrong, my lunch break, things like that, I can jump on a call. Somebody shoots me a text, one of the guys might text me and say, hey man, I need, we got an issue. I'll be like, all right, I'll call you when I'm at lunch. So, a little bit of flexibility there, but, I've still got responsibilities. I still got bills to pay.
Yeah. And you got a wife and 3 kids too, that need your time as well. Right.
Correct. So, I mean, would I say I'd love to be out, doing this every day and supporting the community and doing what needs to be done? I mean, absolutely. But at the same time, like my guys always tell me, they're like, man, Jay, like we need you at the shop. We need you here every day. We need, right. And I'm like, guys, like the biggest priority. I mean, if somebody wrote me a check today for $60,000 or $70,000 and said, man, I believe in your mission. I'm doing it. I tell the guys all the time, I'm like, my first priority outside of supporting the community is that you guys can start paying your own bed fees, that you guys can save up some money to buy a car, save up some money so that you can, support your family. They're my first priority. God will take care of me in due time. But my first priority is to the recovery guys and making sure that their lives are put together and going down the right path. You know, my wife supports me. I've got a very strong support system. And because of my support system, it allows me to be the support system for the 3 guys that are at the shop every day. And that's where my focus is.
Well, it allows you to help them build a better life for themselves, but you're also helping people that need their car to work. And instead of it costing $1,200, you're charging them $120. It sounds
correct. Like. So yeah, you're 100% accurate there. And you know, the thing that a lot of people don't realize, you know, and I talk about this is, you know, I'll ask you, what's the American dream?
To live on a beach or just do whatever the heck you want. But work really hard so you can make some choices that lead you to a place that you want to be.
Yep. But what's the typical, right? White, like, you know, the quick phrase is, you know, the house, white picket fence, right?
Right. All right.
Well, I'll tell you right now, that dream isn't on a bus line.
Right.
Right. That dream isn't walking distance to your job. We've built this culture. We've built this lifestyle of go get yourself a house on a piece of land. Now don't get me wrong, not on a huge acreage, right? But in a neighborhood. And then get you a car, right? And you have a job through all of this. But nowhere does the bus come to pick you up if that car breaks down, right? Nowhere yes, nowadays more and more people can work from home, but I can tell you that the people in poverty or the people who are making just enough to pay rent or to pay that mortgage every month, right? Just enough, right? They don't have the luxury of jumping on a bus. 78.9% of the people in poverty rely on their own transportation, not the bus.
That's unbelievable.
We have 950,000 people in poverty.
And you're saying Richmond Metro?
Virginia.
Okay.
Richmond Metro. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. Look, you quote, you know, I'm trying to quote my numbers here because I forgot my laptop. But yeah, but just that percentage alone, 78.9%. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I have dug through population calculations and, you know, all of the public information on that. And I'll tell you, I guarantee you that number's higher.
So obviously there are no bus lines that are out in the counties, right? Let's use Richmond as an example. Richmond has a bus line, but that bus line doesn't cover every part of Richmond, right?
Doesn't come to Mechanicsville. There's only one that goes to Short Pump. There was and I'm not bashing the bus line by any means because it's a great means of transportation. I have a guy I work with that his car sits in his carport and he rides the bus. He loves it, right? I'm not saying that, but we just donated a car to a veteran. Took her an hour and a half to get to work every day, one way, and she had to walk 3 blocks to catch the bus. Because think about it. I mean, if you really think, like, people are like, oh my gosh, like the bus line's so bad, we got to fix it. And I'll go, but think about it, man. Just think about an apartment complex and it's got 200 people in it. Nowhere is there a bus line that can take 200 people to their job.
Yeah, bus is going to fit, what, 40 people maybe?
Yeah, but I'm saying, you know, just Richmond, you know, everybody works everywhere, man. Like somebody might hop the bus line and go to Short Pump, and then the same person that lives in that exact same apartment complex needs to get all the way to Powhatan, right? The same person that lives in the same apartment complex also needs to get Chesterfield. What I'm saying is there is no way to design a bus line that gets all 200 people in an apartment complex to their job every day within 30 minutes. It's not going to happen. It's unrealistic, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So those people who, you know, I've talked to so many, like there's a video on our YouTube channel, Melvin, And really great guy. We fixed his car up for him. He had scrounged up just enough to basically buy this car, and he bought it and poured like another $1,000 into it and was missing rent payments. And this was before he came to us. This was like, he had told me, he was like, oh, it's been a couple months since all this happened. And he was good with his rent and everything. But Melvin came to us and he says, look, man, I can't even drive this thing to work. The power steering pulley had actually fallen off the wheel, right? Off the power steering pump. It had broken. And then his rack and pinion was just leaking fluid everywhere. How he made it to us, I'm not even sure. Right. And he shows up at the doorstep and we're like, man, what can we do for you, Melvin, man? And we're talking to him and we're working through some stuff. And he just starts telling us his story, and he was like, the closest job to me, I'm not going to name names, but he's like, the closest job to me, I tried, somewhere I could walk. And he was like, I wasn't even making enough to pay my rent. And the only job I have, only job I can get that makes enough money for me to pay my rent, is 30 minutes away, and he was like, but I got to get my kids on the bus for school. Well, school bus doesn't come and I got to be at work at 8. So how do you get your kids on the bus at 7:30 and jump on the public transportation and get to your job by 8 o'clock? Theoretically, I mean, it's impossible.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. And again, that's not a smack in the face to the public transportation system, because like I said, an apartment complex with 200 people ain't happening. Too many people, too many different jobs. I mean, jobs are spread out everywhere, man. I mean, I used to work in Fredericksburg. I used to commute 45 minutes.
Yeah, I know people that commute 2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. So but the fact of the matter is we have this major problem with keeping people safe. And that's our focus. Keeping people safe. You come to me and you want your car lowered. Don't get me wrong. I've lowered hundreds of cars. I've got air ride suspension on cars. I've done lift kits. I've done, but that's not what we're doing. We're making cars safe for people, right? You come to me and your front brakes, we've got all the tools that everybody else does. We check your front brakes. Your front brakes look good, but your tie rod's messed up. But you're like, well, I wanted brakes. And I go, well, your brakes look good. Let's take a look at them. Like, we look at them and we're like, your brakes are good. Like, but your sway bar links are really bad. Like, that's what we need to fix. And then we also step into education where, customers who want to, not all of them, but customers who want to can go, well, what's a sway bar link and what's it supposed to be like, right? We've got old broken ones in the shop that we've cleaned up and saved so that we can share it with you and say, here's what it's supposed to do. What's a CV axle boot? So many people are ripping their CV axle boots and they have no clue what it even does, how it even works with the car. So we're also educating people so that when they go to get a state inspection or they go to a shop and the shop says, hey, you need brakes, you can say, all right, well, can I see them? And when you look at them, you understand why the shop told you needed brakes, right? Now, I'm not saying we're trying to build a system where, people can start going into shops going, you're lying to me. But at the same regards, like, I was always taught at a young age, don't, question things, right? If I go in somewhere for a state inspection and they tell me my brakes are bad and I say, well, can I see them, please? And I know what I'm looking at. And I know, like, can you hand me your test gauge? I want to see if these are the right specs based on, state requirements. Nobody's, just people being more knowledgeable, right? That's all it is. Or understanding that if you've got a certain kind of brake pad from a certain part store, you have a warranty with them. Ask for your brakes back if a shop puts them on so you can take them back and get your money back. I mean, it's simple stuff like that. It's like I said, it's a safe place for people to come and hang out, right? Learn about cars, get your car fixed. Like I tell the recovery guys, if you don't have to work that day, instead of sitting at the house, right, and YouTubing and sitting on your phone and just overthinking things, come to the shop and hang out. We'll teach you how to work on some cars, and then some folks, we've taught how to, you know, one guy, Dimitri, this was back when we first got started, came to us. He was sofa surfing, came from a broken home. And, his car was kind of his means of relief, getting away from bad situations. And he was working, and really good kid, man, just really trying to do life right. And, he, it was like $3,000 for a transmission for his car. And, again, everybody picks on me because I'm what you call a shade tree mechanic, which means I didn't go to some fancy tech school or anything like that. I've learned from doing. And I said, man, bring that thing over here. Let me look at it. And I pulled the transmission pan down, and oil pan down. And I'm checking over some things. I cleaned some things out. Check some sensors, clean some sensors, put a new oil pan on it, got the oil pressure right, put a new tire on the back of it. That was 2.5 years ago. He's still driving the same car, and I fixed it for $50.
Yeah. Yeah. And without you, he would have had no clue.
I mean, he was like, there's no way. He was like, I was ready to hand the keys over and say, I don't have $3,000 here. Keep my car.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people would have taken advantage of him or tried to.
Yeah, I mean, but again, I'm not here to say people are doing things wrong. I think everybody's doing the best that they can and doing what again, there's regulations and there are rules that people have to do. I mean, for us, I'll give you an example. We got a car on the lot right now. You hook the scan tool up to it, nothing. It says the car should be running, it should be driving, should be nothing wrong with it. Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, there's a wiring issue because that car is all kinds of messed up, right? No fire. So when you turn the key, it won't start and kick over. So it's not getting any fire. Fuel pump's pumping fuel to it. But according to this and I don't have a cheap fancy scan tool. We have a donor who donates really nice scan tools to us every couple years and upgrades them. And scan tool says that car is perfect. There's nothing wrong with it.
Wow.
So yeah. We'll, but because me and my other two, my shop manager and my lead tech, they both have 40 years experience, right? So we start chasing wires down. Sure enough, it's a coil pack that's got a wiring issue, and we fix the wiring issue, the car starts right up, but those are things that, some places don't have the time, to do. I got a good friend of mine works at a shop, and same thing. He's called me, and I call him for help. He's like, man, Jay, like, I don't have time to trace this down. Like, the customer's going to end up paying me $300 if I have to do this, man. And that's just to figure it out, because it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Running a shop it's a lot of money, and Mechanics of Faith is able to step in and help some of these people that they don't have the money to go pay, a shop that's got all this overhead, and that's like I said, I've got buddies in the automotive industry that send people to me because they're going, Jason, I can't figure this out. If I spend more time on the car, I know I can figure out, especially one of my good friends. I know for a fact if he could spend 5 hours on a car, he'd figure it out. But he's like, I don't have the time. Well, we're a nonprofit, right? I'm not in this to make money. I'll spend 10 days on your car trying to figure out what's wrong with it, right? And not charge you a penny, because I'll get some volunteers out there to learn and learn some things, and we'll use your car as a learning tool, but also don't bring me your car and expect me to fix it in an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that all makes sense. I love what you're doing. You're helping as many people as you can. I assume you plan to grow if you can.
Yeah, man. I mean, we need $300,000 to $500,000 a year to operate, and that would get us to helping about 300 to 500 individuals. And really, it's not fixing cars, right? It's giving people their independence back, right? I mean, just I tell everybody, I tell you what, tomorrow morning when you get up, get your kids on the bus, get your coffee. When you get in your car, pretend like your car doesn't start. And I want you to sit there for about 10 seconds and think about, you have to get to work. Your mortgage is due in a week. You have no food on the table. If you don't go to work, you don't get paid on Friday. You potentially could lose your job. Who do you know that you could call right there in one drop of a hat that would come pick you up and take you to work? Right? Because that's what these folks are doing. Like, I have people that are like, Jason, I have literally spent my entire month's rent Ubering around because I can't get my car fixed. Right? And I tell folks too, like, one of our huge pushes right now is our 25 Challenge 25. Just a $25 a month donation can help keep a car running for a whole year.
Since you mentioned that, how do people donate?
So if you go to mechanicsoffaith.org, you can click on donate and you can make a donation that way. We also have a link on our website at mechanicsoffaith.org called 25 Challenge 25. And that will automatically dump you into the portal to commit to 25 or more monthly giving. It's automatically set up to automatically come out of your credit card on your credit card every single month for that monthly giving. That's what we need. If we can get more individuals to understand that, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus. I've got all that stuff. It's $30 a month, right? And I'm like, wait a second. All these cool streaming things that I have, right? For the same price that I pay for all my streaming network systems, I can make sure a family can get to and from work and put food on the table. Well, that's better than any entertainment system that I can get, in my opinion, knowing that I'm helping a family.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'm glad you shared that, and hopefully this leads to more donations. All right, I'm going to totally change directions on you, Jason.
Go ahead.
Imagine you're a talk show host. You get to do it one time. You get to invite 3 or 4 people, or one of them's actually can be a group. But it's one time only. These guests can be alive or dead. They can be friends of yours, family members. They can be complete strangers. Your show can be about education. It can be pure entertainment. It can be a mix of whatever you want it to be. One male, one female, one musical act. So it could be a soloist or a group. And then if you're into comedy, a comedian. Who do you have on your one time only talk show? You're the host. You're interviewing them. You get to talk to these folks.
Oh my gosh.
Did that just blow your mind? It's meant to be a little more revealing about who you are. This question.
I'd have to say, if you would have asked me this a long time ago, it would have been totally different than it is now. I would probably say Billy Graham.
Yeah, he'd be a fascinating interview.
But can I elaborate?
Sure.
But there's a reason why. And it's not because probably people are like, oh, it's because he's a pastor. It's because I would want to have a conversation with him around why he pastors the way that he does, but also how he connects with people, right? He was very good. In my opinion, people are probably going to throw stones at me, but like Martin Luther King, right? The way that him and others connected with the community, right? Like Billy Graham preached in front of stadiums, right? But what people don't realize is that was amazing. But I bet you he could name everybody in that stadium, right? Like that's the important part. And that's even me as a pastor at my church, Cars in Christ. I know Cars in Christ, Mechanics of Faith, it gets confusing. But I've always told myself, I want to be the person that I still connect with everybody, right? And I know, you get busy, so I'm not saying you could call Billy Graham and at the drop of a hat, he's going to call you back, right? But to me and things that I've read about him and stuff, he was the one that's like, oh, I'm inviting 30 people from my church over for a barbecue. Like, that's the conversation I want to have with him. How'd you have that backyard conversation. He was an evangelist, not, not some pastor that really felt like he was on stage, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Is that the only question you had?
No, but that's one male. I need 3 more guests, man. I need a female. I need a musical group. And if you're into comedy, you can give me a comedian.
Musical group. Man, I should know this. I ran the DJ business for 15 years.
Of course you did, Jason.
Yeah, man. Music entertainer, man. I've done over 500 weddings. Man, musical group, the Rat Pack.
Okay, nice. I like that. You're
100%.
Yeah, you're pretty young to come up with the Rat Pack.
Oh man, I love me some Dean Martin, Frankie. Oh man, love it. Female, right?
Female. Then if you a comedian, if you are into comedy like that,
Kevin Hart would be my comedian.
Okay. Yeah, he's a hilarious guy. My goodness.
A female. Any female?
Yeah, any female. Can be a family member, alive or dead.
Oh, I didn't realize I could do family members live or dead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That might have been while I was breaking up and got disconnected.
You're good. You're good.
Man, I don't know. A female. Ooh. Oh, what is her name? Oh my gosh. Oh, I would love to interview her. Oh, from Full House.
Oh, I know you're. Oh gosh.
That's who I'd want to interview, man.
You're saying Fuller House. She was also in Full House.
Full House. Yeah. She's the star of Fuller House, though. But oh, dude, I would love to interview her, man.
All right, hold on. I can't believe neither one of us can come up with it. Oh man. You're talking about Candace Cameron?
Yes.
Burr?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would love to interview her, man.
Yeah, she's a fascinating person and a very powerful voice. No question.
She's done a lot of cool stuff, man. A lot of cool stuff.
Well, that's awesome. Well, hey, Jason, you're a busy dude. So let's wrap up with you. If you're comfortable doing it, tell me about your wife and kids.
My wife is an amazing woman. We actually went to high school together, reconnected later. And I we reconnected later in life, and she's just awesome, man. She's my support system. She's my rock. Without her, none of this would be plausible, right? I mean, first and foremost, I give it glory to God, but my wife is second. Without that support system, my kids as well. I got 3 beautiful girls. My kids are even saying things like, "Dad, I want to help people in the community like you do." And then it's just amazing, man. Without that support, none of this would be happening right now.
No, that's awesome, man. You are maybe one of the busiest people I've ever met.
Everybody tells me I'm too busy, but
well, I mean, I'm thinking about how do you pack in all the stuff we talked about, and then you throw out 500 weddings as a DJ. What?
I was actually DJing for Richmond Christian Academy on Thursday night.
Wow.
Look, man, it's one of the, like I tell folks, it's not about, one of the things you can't get back is time. So use it wisely. And everybody's like, man, you probably don't sleep. You probably, it's weird, man. Like some days I feel like I don't know how I get everything done. And then, other days I'm like sitting around my house at 8:00 at night and I'm like, I know there's something I need to be doing, but it's, everything I'm supposed to be doing falls into place. I may not always be available over the phone. I may take longer to fix somebody's car, but at the end of the day, if you truly need me, or need one of my team members, we're going to be there to help you. the best that we can. You know, and we just keep trugging along, man. If I missed you on Tuesday, I'll catch you tomorrow. You know, one of my Tony, my shop manager, tells me all the time. He's like, man, if you're mad at me today, don't worry about it. We'll just try again tomorrow.
That's a good way to think about it. I like that. All right, cool, Jason. Well, thanks so much for doing this. Thanks for what you do for your community, man. I know you're doing very, very important work for a lot of people. So
I appreciate that.
I appreciate it. And I wish I'll challenge myself and others to rise to your level, man.
Not my level, his level.
Right on. All right,
brother.
cool. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd also really appreciate if you'd rate and review us. You can find us at scodupodcast.com.